Well, Kirby and the Forgotten Land is the latest outing for our spherical pink friend, and his first outing in 3D. Well, the game is developed by HAL Laboratory, and they've done an absolutely wonderful job converting Kirby to the 3D environment, providing some excellent combat, great platforming, and overall a very wholesome and fun experience on Nintendo Switch. You know, I've still got an old school Game Boy in a drawer somewhere, and in the back of this relic of gaming history is Kirby's Dream Land. This was the original outing for Kirby on the Game Boy. It was a side-scrolling platformer which I remember playing a whole bunch as a kid, and since then I've become more accustomed to playing Kirby in Super Smash Bros, but I was really looking forward to Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Now, I'm happy to say that I haven't been let down by Kirby. This is a great game worthy of your attention if you own a Nintendo Switch. So when we first saw Kirby and the Forgotten Land, we were hoping it would be like Super Mario Odyssey. However, it turns out to be much more similar to Super Mario 3D World, the game that was successfully re-released on Nintendo Switch in 2021 alongside Bowser's Fury. For example, the levels are contained, and as Kirby you've got a bunch of enemies to defeat, platforms to traverse and bosses to battle. You know, Kirby and the Forgotten Land is classic Nintendo design. Their levels are really tight, they're packed full of neat and little ideas, and there's also an overwhelming sense of fun, albeit in a confined space. Well, as a Kirby fan, there's plenty of nostalgia in Forgotten Land as well. You know, Kirby's classic copy abilities are present, and perhaps the best they've ever been. You know, you can suck in an enemy and take on some of their abilities, plus you've got loads of new features too. Mouthful mode has been introduced, which left many Kirby's fans' jaws on the floor during a recent Nintendo Direct, with Kirby inhaling a whole car, and then having the ability to drive around just like the object he's holding in his mouth. This mechanic is more than just fun humour. You can solve key puzzles in the game by taking on the abilities of the objects in really interesting ways. Well, the story of the game is a little light, as you can imagine from a Kirby adventure. You got the Waddle Dees, they've been kidnapped by the big baddie, and they've been caged all throughout the Forgotten Land. Well, the idea is then to cross the lands, find and save the Waddle Dees, and restore your new hub location called Waddle Dee Town. Well, the world itself is something new for Kirby too. So Kirby wakes up in this new world, and it looks very similar to our own world, and it's a rundown post-apocalyptic cuddly version of quote-unquote Earth. Imagine a cartoon version of The Last of Us, and you get something similar to the Forgotten Land. And you're going to see a lot of the landscape because much of the game is spent exploring and discovering the secrets or the location for the Waddle Dees. You know, similar to Super Mario 3D World, you've got to find a certain number of Waddle Dees to unlock the next stage in some cases, so there's no getting around the exploration. So structure-wise, these levels are set out with 5 missions to complete, and each time saving a Waddle Dee to add to your collection. So there's a few bonus levels too if you want to get stuck into those, but they aren't really mandatory. So you've got certain objectives that you can complete as well, and they feel new for the Kirby franchise, and examples of these including defeating bosses with certain weapons or eating your way through a number of consumables. So previous Kirby titles have always been known for their ease, and this one does take a different direction. So rather than blowing through all the levels, these new objectives and challenges mix up the gameplay in new ways, so the combat and the platforming isn't going to challenge you like something like Celeste for example, but it is new for the Kirby franchise to tackle these in different ways of doing things. I'm really looking forward to Nintendo doing more of this in the future with Kirby. Well, as well as the main story, you've also got some side quests. These open up as you play the game to work your way through the levels, and different mini-games they open up too. Well, the different mini-games range from cooking, bowling, ice skating, and spinning coins. You know, some of them, they're better than others, but they all nod back to earlier Kirby games and bring them all together in this new package. It doesn't really feel like you're being taken out of the main gameplay experience. So it doesn't feel like an obnoxious change, it's all smooth and seamless and feels complementary to the main experience. Well, combat in the game feels good, it's all fairly straightforward as you'd imagine from a Kirby game. However, there's a good amount of variety to the enemies, and there's definitely lots of them. The copy abilities are great fun, plus this time you can upgrade them, having collected upgrade materials throughout the side quests and also in the minigames too. Kirby's got fire abilities, sword abilities, and they can be upgraded to crazy levels allowing you to spew out lava, and also having a giant sword. It's all done in good humour, it's over the top, and it's big and it's bold. Now after each level you're going to head back to Waddle Dee Town, which over time gets rebuilt thanks to the progress Kirby makes. And each time you rescue a Waddle Dee, they go back to Waddle Dee Town and help rebuild, meaning slowly over time it becomes a bustling hub, which is a relaxing place to hang out in between levels. As you progress, important features open up, including a weapon shop. Kirby gets his own house, finally, and you also have generic vendors where you can pick up health and other supplies. There's also more mini-games here, including fishing and a nice boss rush mode made up of bosses you've beat in the game already. And the overall gameplay loop found in Kirby is satisfying, so you can head out into the story mode, save some Waddle Dees, come back to the town and pick up some upgrades, take on some bosses or play some mini-games, and then you can head out back into the story. Kirby and the Forgotten Land isn't too long, it can take anywhere between 6 and 10 hours to play through the whole game. There's a few hidden surprises throughout the game, and post-game secrets to find too. You've got some good set pieces, including boat rides, car chases, decent boss battles, and also swimming. You've also got an array of environments and set pieces to run through with Kirby, and for his first 3D outing, this is very impressive stuff from Nintendo. I was slightly disappointed at the game's length given its price tag, but it's a small gripe considering the entertainment you're getting with Kirby. The game may be short, but the moment-to-moment gameplay is really good fun. It's not all plain sailing with Kirby, and there are a few things about the game I wasn't too keen on. Some bosses are fought time and time again, and the environments can feel a little bit samey. So I definitely think there's more positives in the game than negatives, and you can see the pedigree of the development team at work. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is a surprisingly beautiful game, so comparing this to other recent Nintendo Switch games, for example Pokemon Legends Arceus, this looks much better than that, although not on the level of something like Super Mario Odyssey. This year it's Kirby's 30th anniversary, and this is a great way to celebrate Kirby's birthday. We've seen Kirby before on Nintendo Switch in the free-to-play Kirby Star Allies. That felt to me a little bit half-baked, or not quite what we were looking for, but Kirby and the Forgotten Land is much more like it. And it does our pink little friend justice. The platforming here is great, the battle system is decent, and the boss battles are big and over the top, and it's all that you'd want from a Kirby title. This is an excellent outing for one of Nintendo's best loved characters, and it's well worth giving a shot. Well, the developer was HAL Laboratory, the publisher was Nintendo of course. It's available for Nintendo Switch, and it was originally released on the 25th of March, 2022. Well, that is it for my review of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Really good fun, and if you are a Kirby fan, this is one not to miss. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to This Week in Video Games. Or you can check me out on Twitter at TWIVG Podcast. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, liking and sharing the video would really help me out. Otherwise, check out the other videos on the channel. Well, thanks again, and I'll see you soon.